What happens when law and order becomes a weapon? Elissa Slotkin confronted Kristi Noem over deportations and exposed how easily constitutional rights can disappear when politics takes over justice.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for being here. You know, Michigan's a border state, so we need each other. We have a very big bridge that's being inaugurated, ribbon cut in September. We need that to be fully staffed. We have a lot going on in Michigan as a northern border state, so we need each other. But what I'm concerned about is that you've taken the mandate to close off the border beyond going after, as you say, the, quote, most dangerous illegal immigrants. I'm a CIA officer. I worked my entire life to protect the homeland. If someone's here illegally, they need to not be here. They've committed a crime by being here. They need to go back to wherever they're from. But my concern is that either through sloppiness or intent, you have gone far beyond going after the, quote, most dangerous illegal immigrants and gone into legal immigrants who were given the ability to be here, and even American citizens. And when I think about that, you know, there are lots of people in this country, including me, who have families who fled this kind of environment where they have no rights, where they have no due process, where they don't have habeas corpus. So while I'll be the first to say, coming from a state that was won by Trump, that there is a mandate to do something about the border, I think it is absolute dangerous overreach to go beyond that and start picking up American citizens and people who have the legal right to be here, lawful immigrants who have done everything right. So first and foremost, do you acknowledge that your department has made some mistakes, any mistakes, in going after either American citizens or legal immigrants here in the time that you've been in office?
We have not deported any U.S. citizens
detained,
or people get interviewed. If they get interviewed and they go through that process and if we find that they're U.S. citizens or legal immigrants, they stay in the United States.
Have you deported
we have to go through the vetting process.
Have any American citizens, including children, been deported during your time in office?
We have children that mothers have chosen to keep with them. So those
by my count, you have 10 American citizens, including children with cancer, who have been deported out of the country. I understand you're saying it's their choice.
But it's hard to imagine
a small child having a choice. But have you gone after legal immigrants? Again, your standard in your opening statement was the most dangerous illegal immigrants. Does that include PhD students and master's students at colleges across the country, unarmed? Are they the most dangerous illegal when they have status and no weapons?
I don't decide who gets status through a student program. This Department of State decides that, and we enforce it.
Oh, come on.
That's what our Department of Homeland Security does.
I just would offer that, again, I have no qualms with going after folks who are here illegally. That is not my concern. That was part of my job, was to prevent people from coming here illegally in a former life. My concern is you're sending a chill down the spine of America by going after people who either have legal status or American citizens. And when my colleagues ask you about habeas corpus, and you say, literally, we can review the tape, that you believe it's a right the president has, you sat here in front of all of us and swore an oath to the Constitution, and that is not at all what habeas corpus is. It is a right that we all get, that American citizens get, that people who are in the United States legally have. So my concern is it's complete overreach. I don't think American citizens, even those who voted for Trump, believe that you should be able to just grab someone off the street, sloppy, who has the legal right to be here, and certainly an American citizen. And I just am concerned that while you say you're going after the most dangerous folks, what you're actually doing is going after folks for political reasons, right? A PhD student that's unarmed is not at the top of the list.
And we're not deporting U.S. citizens, and we're not deporting people who have legal status here.
10 American citizens
have been deported. If the children have gone with their parents, it's because their parents wanted them with them. So let me ask you another question about cybersecurity. You know, you've cut $500 million from the budget. What specific programs are you cutting? Because there are programs that really aid states and locals that we depend on for cybersecurity. And we know that right now, while we may have good security in the federal government, if you are a local state official,
you're depending on the federal government. So have you cut the ISAC program, the program to states and locals on cybersecurity?
The president's recommended budget has a reduction in $491 million.
Does it cut that program? I've heard the talking point.
And what it's doing is putting
cut the
CISA
program
back on mission.
And it's
you can't
ensuring
say
that this is the most
cybersecurity is going to be strengthened.
You cannot say it's the most cyber-secure administration if you're cutting the program to my state and to your state.
It will
and if you
be
look
when
on record, that's what you've cut. I yield back.
Time has expired. Senator Hawley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Noem, good to see you.
What you just witnessed wasn't just a heated exchange. It was a confrontation over the soul of American democracy and the meaning of basic rights. Elissa Slotkin wasn't asking a gotcha question. She was forcing Kristi Noem to face the human cost of political theater. When Slotkin pressed, "Have any American citizens been deported?" she was cutting to the heart of something that should never even be up for debate. Deporting citizens, people who have every right to live here, is one of the clearest constitutional violations imaginable. It's a line that's supposed to be untouchable. But Noem's response, stumbling through excuses about families going with their parents, exposed just how dangerously blurred that line has become. Let's be clear here. Under the Constitution, habeas corpus protects against unlawful detention or deportation. It's one of the oldest principles in Western law, your right to not be taken by the government without due process. And yet, here we have a governor who treats that concept like an inconvenience. Slotkin called it what it is, an overreach of power. Because when state or federal officials start acting like they can grab people off the street, detain them, or deport them without court oversight, they're not enforcing law, they're violating it. And Noem's dismissive answers only highlight how far some politicians are willing to go to project toughness while trampling the very rights that define what it means to be American. And Slotkin made an even sharper point. This isn't about going after criminals. It's about selective enforcement, targeting people based on politics, race, or status. A PhD student, she noted, not a criminal, not a threat, swept up in deportation rhetoric. That's not public safety. That's political theater. The tragedy is that these policies aren't just abstract violations. They destroy families. Noem admitted that American citizens' children have gone with their parents. Think about that. Kids born here, citizens under the 14th Amendment, forced to leave the country because of someone else's political agenda. That's not law and order. That's cruelty repackaged as policy. Then Slotkin pivoted, seamlessly, to expose the hypocrisy in Noem's leadership. While talking tough on security, Noem has cut $500 million from cybersecurity programs that help state and local governments protect themselves from real threats, not imaginary ones. So on one hand, she's targeting people she can brand as illegal, and on the other, she's weakening the very systems that defend Americans from cyber attacks. That's not leadership. That's a political performance at the expense of real safety. Slotkin's message was crystal clear. Stop hiding behind slogans. Stop weaponizing fear. Start governing responsibly. Because the Constitution doesn't bend to campaign strategy. It's not about who you can scare, it's about who you can protect. And that's what makes this exchange so powerful. Slotkin wasn't just defending immigrants, she was defending the idea that citizenship, rights, and due process still mean something. That no one, not even a governor, is above the law. Moments like this remind us that democracy doesn't collapse in one day. It erodes slowly, through small acts of normalization. Leaders breaking rules for the greater good. Citizens being silenced because it's politically convenient. Families being treated as collateral damage. That's why voices like Slotkin's matter, not because she's partisan, but because she's principled enough to say what too many won't. The Constitution isn't optional. So when you hear Kristi Noem talk about law and order, remember this exchange. Remember that the measure of a democracy isn't how it treats its powerful, it's how it protects the vulnerable. And when American citizens start getting deported, or their kids are forced to leave with their parents, that's not a sign of strength. That's a warning. If you believe in holding leaders accountable, not just for their words, but for the lives affected by their decisions, stay tuned. Because here at Left Lens, we're not just replaying hearings, we're breaking them down, exposing what's underneath the politics, and giving you the context others leave out. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because we've got more deep dives coming that cut through the noise and get to the truth behind the sound bites.